How's it going, everybody? JT here on behalf of the EV Mavericks Discord channel, the EV Mavericks NFT community, blasting live from the stage on Discord. If you're watching this on X or YouTube or Twitch, come on by. If you want to jump on stage, just raise your hand if you got some questions for the team with us today. Super stoked to have everybody here. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and smash the bell. Listen, man, we got Kody and we got Anthony. Hello, everybody. Glad you could make it.
Yo, my man.
Hey, what's up, JT?
Good to see you guys. Last time we got together, we had barbecue stains on our white T-shirts at Eat Denver. And it's not the first time that Anthony's had barbecue. I think it was maybe the first time for Kody. So Anthony and Kody are both EV Mavericks. I want to highlight that. It's always cool when we get a chance on this podcast to feature the people that actually do the building in this ecosystem. And there's so many EV Mavericks out there. If you go look for the PFPs on X, they're almost always a good follow and high value people. And a lot of these folks have been around really since pretty much the beginning. Most people lurk on Reddit, but the ones that were vocal in the daily general discussions over the years, they were able to mint their Lion PFPs, and we've got two of them here today. So I want to get something figured out here. So Anthony works directly with Obol. Kody, do you work directly with Obol? He had mentioned that you worked with Smoothly. What is Smoothly?
I work directly with Obol. Smoothly is a project I founded in early 2023. It's essentially a smoothing pool for solo stakers.
Okay.
A way to smooth out your execution layer rewards. Wanted to build something as an open source public good, not take a fee from it. So yeah, that's my other project. But yeah, working with Obol now.
Okay, I just want to clear that up because it said you're a founder, so formerly of Smoothly and now with Obol, the collective that is Obol. So we're just going to do some real softball stuff here. We don't have to spend a lot of time with origin stories, but Anthony, do you want to lead off? Like, what did you do previous to Obol, and what's your journey been like?
Yeah, so I am a self-prescribed ETH maxi. Fell in love with Ethereum in 2017. Spent way too much time on Reddit. Before I was on crypto Twitter. I co-founded a company called I Trust Capital, the first crypto retirement account platform in the US. Grew that to a unicorn, and then joined Proof of Attendance Protocol, POAP, or some people say Popes, as the first marketing hire. We all love our Popes and POAPs. And now I'm head of ecosystem and marketing at Obol. And man, we are trying to make the Beacon chain as decentralized as possible, trying to ensure that, trillions of dollars can settle. And that is primarily through distributed validators, which is sort of the end game of Ethereum staking, taking kind of legacy validator technology and turning it into something that is more secure, more performant, etc. And we also have the Obol stack coming up too, which is exciting. But yeah, just an ETH maxi. Love hanging out with you guys all. Love hanging out with Kody. Get to work with him every day. It's a good life.
Kody, I'll throw it to you. What is a little bit of your origin story besides Smoothly, obviously?
Yeah. Like most of us, I didn't start in crypto. My background's mechanical engineering. In like 20, right out of college, I was crashing cars, doing like instrumenting dummies and doing a lot of data analysis. And I got into Bitcoin first, and then as soon as I realized I could do something besides send money back and forth or send BTC back and forth, Ethereum kind of sparked my interest. And lurked on Reddit for a long time, and then as soon as I realized proof of stake was actually coming, dove in deeper. And put my ETH to work, and then started Smoothly. So that's kind of how I got it. How I met the guys at Obol. Was trying to get a smoothing pool integrated to DBs.
How big is Obol now? The employees?
Yeah, I think it's around 35 or so. Small but mighty core team.
That's awesome.
We just try to focus on the highest quality talent possible, and AI is really breaking down barriers, that ability to scale, whether it's scaling on creative side or engineering side. So yeah, I think 35 strong. We actually have a retreat coming up in Argentina. So before DevConnect, the whole
Oh,
team will
wow.
be out there, get to hang out, go whitewater rafting, go dancing, all that cool stuff.
That's fantastic. And so, Anthony, how
So,
long?
want to cut in, Anthony? You're muted on Discord, and you are broadcasting on the other stream. So, update the audio settings, please.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah. Okay, should I repeat myself?
Yeah, do that.
You don't have to, but I know you well enough, and
No.
maybe for the other people in the
Yeah.
audience.
No, yeah, let's.
Of course.
Yeah, we'll rewind it back. Go ahead.
So Obol is like around 35 people strong. AI makes it so small teams can perform, at a pretty high level, and so less bodies are needed. I think this is a trend for most, companies. But yeah, get to hang out with great, talented people every day. We'll all be together in Argentina before DevConnect. So get to go whitewater rafting, do a little salsa dancing,
That'll be
and
fun.
head into DevConnect strong.
That's fantastic. And Anthony, how long have you been with Obol? And Kody, how long have you been with Obol?
Yeah, we're coming up on 2 years. Probably like a year and 10 months or so. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Kody. Sorry.
yeah, I'm just a year and a few months. Maybe 15 months or so.
Anthony, I remember when I believe it was at Eat Denver at Kevin Owaki's church. I call it the Church of Owaki at the Green Pill Barbecue. I think you had just joined the team around that time. So wow, that's great. And so, all right, we got that done. Obol, what are we doing with Obol? Who's it for? And the other question I have is institutional staking. How does that work too? So let's just boil down the 50,000 foot view of what Obol is and who it's for.
Yeah. I think if we zoomed way out, Obol's mission is to just like contribute to Ethereum's like never-ending story, which is its, infinite economy, right? We're all here because we believe Ethereum is going to change the world. The first major act that Obol has done is with distributed validators, right? A lot of people have heard of DVT. That's great for individuals like myself who want to stake from home, but are not that sophisticated about running a validator. So, if it goes down, it's not a problem. Generating keys is very secure without needing to like have a second machine for air gap. Various things. It's great for normies, squad staking, get a group together and stake from home. But it's the technology also is kind of a strict improvement over legacy validator technology. So institutions and professional node operators are running it as kind of their base infrastructure. We also have the Obol stack, which is going to be our second act for decentralizing all, Ethereum infrastructure and applications. But everyone has a different take on it. So, Kody, loves Ethereum like me. I'd love to hear how Kody sees it.
Yeah, I think at its core, DBT was our first product. And if you aren't familiar with DBT, it's actually pretty straightforward. Traditionally you run one validator, one machine, one person, and DBT allows you to operate a single validator with multiple nodes working together, reaching consensus on what to sign. And there's also you like Anthony said, you have fault tolerance. So like him and I are in a squad of 6 people. 2 people can go down, and the validator keeps attesting. So yeah, it's aside from just like the technical benefits, I don't think you really know how nice it is to have that backup until you need it. Like getting support from the people in the squad for like technical issues because a lot of people aren't super technical. Also, if you don't have 32 ETH, obviously it lowers the barrier to entry financially.
I feel like that's one of the big arguments that people have about Ethereum staking. The trope was, it's only going to be for people that can afford 32 ETH. So just how little ETH can you stake on Obol?
Yeah, it depends on the size of your squad. But, and the stake doesn't have to be equal either, right? So like if I wanted a buddy to get into, if one of my buddies wanted to get into staking with 1 ETH, he had a machine.
There it is.
Essentially we could provide all but that all but that 1 ETH, and he could deposit the 1 ETH and get his share rewards through a splitter.
That's
Also,
that's it. That's great.
What we all have come to love in the Ethereum staking community for a long time was like what Rocket Pool did to like democratize access to being a node operator and lowering the barrier to entry via like an economic bond, right? Um, Obol is not supported in Rocket Pool yet. We've been, trying to work with them for a long time. Rocket Pool is great in many ways and they continue to innovate, but we have not had an integration done. But with Lido, Lido CSM V2 is coming to market in about a week, and you can get on mainnet with a squad for, man, what is it? You know, a few ETH. Kody, what is going to be the bond total divided by the squad? So what's the master bond in CSM V2?
Yeah, so for vanilla CSMV2, the bond required for the first validator is 2.4 ETH. So, divide that. You could have a squad of 10 and only put in 0.24 ETH each. But if you have ICS, it's the first validator, I think, is 1.5. So,
so
10's quite a large squad, but yeah, divide that by however many people in your squad, and definitely under $1,000 you could get on staking on mainnet.
Yeah, so say a squad of 4, divide it by 2.5 ETH if you want to get on mainnet, and that's like a philosophical reason why you'd want to, the lowest barrier to mainnet. That theoretically, economics might not make the most sense at that level with your machine, but you also don't need to go watch over your machine, right? I think people eventually will get ejected from CSM if they're not performing well. I'm not, Rocket Pool, I'm not sure their mechanism, but they have some mechanism to make sure node operators are probably performing, whether it's just tied to the bond or the RPL stake. I'm not as familiar. But the great thing about squad staking is like, dude, I never check on my machine. If it goes down, the squad is still A-okay.
How does what are the responsibilities of a node operator within Obol?
Yeah, they're exactly the same as a legacy validator or traditional validator.
Okay.
Attesting to blocks, proposing blocks. The only added duty. So, for example, Charon, our DV client, sits in between your validator client and your consensus client. So you can use any client combination with Charon sitting in the middle. And the only added duties would be, talking to your squad about the attestations and proposals that you're going to sign. And that's super lightweight. It's like, it doesn't, the minimum specs required for a traditional validator are the same for a DV.
And there's no additional like operational overhead for operators. Like it's a lightweight consensus mechanism that goes through the middleware. Like you don't have to do anything more. In fact, you have to worry like less.
When I made the little promo today, I mentioned 1.6 billion and over 1,400 validators. That was not correct. We're way higher than that. I'm looking at the front page of the website a second time here, and 3.2 billion and 22,000 validators. Are these numbers current? Is it even higher than that potentially?
Yeah. So. Yeah, we've not hooked up the API to the front end of the website, so I manually update that. And yeah, we're at about 3.2 billion right now.
Fantastic.
Obol is growing rapidly. It only accounts for 2% of Ethereum stake, but, primarily the response that we've seen, and next week we're going to be releasing the institutional staking report, which is based on data of the institutional staking survey we've ran this year earlier with Lido Institutional and Kaiko, where we've talked to 100 plus of all the top professional node operators, ETF providers, custodians, banks, asset managers. And there is a very clear trend that, distributed validator adoption will continue because of those benefits like fault tolerance, etc. And so yeah, 3.2 billion for now. My bull case is about $1 trillion. I think the ETH economy will be worth 5 trillion and Obol will capture 30% of that share. But that's the long-term vision. That's end game. That's just going to take a very long time.
If that happens, can I be on the payroll for Obol to be the barbecue chef once a month, wherever you guys are doing your retreats? That's all I ask, because I would like to do that, the Argentinian grill that raises and lowers. That would be, I can be your destination DJ also. That's another service I can provide. I'm very valuable at fun. So just keep that in
I
mind.
agree. Three things. So first, we're launching our grant program next week, so people will see about that. But I mean, that's separate. Like that's for everybody. We are currently trying to lock down the Ethereum house during Dev Connect week, and once we do, if we do, definitely you are our man, dude. No doubt.
I'm weaseling my way in. What is the grants program? Rewind the tape. What's the grants program you're talking about?
Yeah, so Obol, we are progressively decentralizing because we want distributed validators as well as the Obol stack and all associated technology to be sort of community owned and like supported for the long term. And so we have the Obol token, and a large portion of the Obol token is set aside for sort of the ecosystem. And so the first grants program is going to have 2 or 3 tracks to be finalized. One of the tracks which I'm most excited about is that like anyone can permissionlessly host Ethereum staking meetups and like get payment for like food and like small budget to host those things. Another thing will be sort of anyone, it's kind of tied to the staking mastery program, but anyone who has a project that they want to do, whether it's research, open source tool, etc., they can apply to build this for the community, and then Obol will like sort of fund it using the governance token. And so, yeah, just an exciting way to continue Ethereum staking development. Kody, I'm not sure if you have any takes on the grant program.
Yeah, looking forward to like seeing who picks up a lot of these projects. So yeah, excited about it.
So I opened up a tweet that is on your main page about the Obol token. It says, I'm sorry, I lost my Elgato Stream Deck, so I have to do this manually on OBS, but it says now available for trading and staking after nearly 5 years of building. Obol distributed validators now secure $1 billion plus across Lido, EtherFi. This is from May 7th. You said $1 billion plus. You're at 3.2 billion. That's how fast you've grown. That's like not even 5 months ago.
Yeah,
insane. Okay, so the Obol tokens, was that an airdrop?
Do you have any idea?
Go ahead, Logri.
Do you have any idea what the distribution of that 3 billion capital is? Is that mostly home stakers? Is that like, have you seen inflow from DATs or other partners that have been buying ETH at scale? Do you think that when we get the ETFs with staking allowed, you'll get any inflows from that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So on obol.org/dashboard, we do have a ton of data that we try to like keep everyone as up to date as possible for people who really are like data nerds and or like sophisticated investors. I will share that the data pipes on that are being updated. So the user experience from a design perspective and from a data perspective is like a little bit slow and not great. But with that said, stake distribution is kind of communicated there. A good chunk is from Lido, a good chunk is from EtherFi, a very small piece is from solo stakers, but it also includes like Swell, it includes Block Daemon, Bitcoin Suisse, Peer2. I wrote a piece on this. People can look it up. It's called The Adoption Curve of Distributed Validators, the adoption cycle of distributed validators. Let me look it up. Anyway, and I basically kind of just like give you the lay of the land is like any technology goes through like an adoption cycle, which is not the same and is distinctly different than like a hype cycle, a Gartner hype cycle, which is separate. Obol is going through what is like a standard adoption cycle of technology, and we've just passed sort of the innovator phase and are now in like the early adopter, and we will then see like early majority when it gets to those like ETH staked ETFs. The no DATs have technically deployed on it directly with them running the infra, but some DAT stake is living on distributed validators because SharpLink has the bulk of their ETH on Liquid Collective, and Liquid Collective runs a portion of their validator set on distributed validators, and we're expecting a large portion of Liquid Collective to be running on distributed validators within a reasonable time frame. More announcements will be coming out in the future. So that's Kody probably has
Liquid Collective. Is it more okay? So if you have some like Rocket Pool, and you're running the node, you're basically earning some portion of the staking reward from the other ETH that you're borrowing. The ETH holders are basically paying the node operators for technical service, right?
Correct.
Is that also true of Liquid Collective? Or
Yeah,
Good.
Liquid Collective most resembles Lido's curated module. Liquid Collective is a liquid staking token positioned for institution with certain kind of like robust standards for their node operators. It is a permissioned node operator set of what most of us would consider a small set of operators, but they go through relatively robust onboarding, etc. And they do not put up an economic bond, but they're bonded by other incentives, economic incentives.
Yeah, they're bonded by reputation and remaining part of that small collective, basically.
Correct.
Okay, so why would someone like SharpLink not use something like Rocket Pool, or even run their own nodes? Is it like they have enough ETH at enough scale? You would think that they could afford the operations cost of running some nodes, and if they were going to trying to maximize yield on the ETH, they would use something like Rocket Pool to maximize the yield, right?
It depends. So if you're a node operator on Rocket Pool, you are holding a bonded token, which changes like your risk assessment as an entity, right? And you're also not getting a liquid stake token back. I think every different DAT, we're talking to all the DATs, right? They all have different kind of risk tolerances. One of them has actually signaled that they're going to be a Rocket Pool node operator. Other ones have signaled that they're only going to do direct staking. Like, we're in conversation with one of the largest, right? And like most sophisticated actors are understanding that direct staking in a multi-operator cluster is like the gold standard, and
It's
that
the
can
risk
be by
minimized
running.
one, yeah.
Yeah, but Kody, I'm interested in your take because, like, Rocket Pool OG. Why do you think they're not running their own nodes, etc.?
For that matter, like, why hasn't Coinbase? I mean, the RPL stake is gone. So at this point, if you have Coinbase, you've got a pile of ETH, and that's your CB ETH. Why not take the extra 0.5% yield and just skim it and call it Coinbase's profit? Why are they just not economically optimizing the rewards for themselves?
Yeah, that's true. I'd have to say that it probably just like narrows down to education, and like, these guys probably have advisors they're talking to that are also incentivized to send them a certain direction.
You think Coinbase is uneducated? Like as a
no, I wouldn't say
entity?
no, I wouldn't say Coinbase is uneducated, but like I would say that the DATs probably aren't in the weeds like we are in DeFi, and I don't know, and they're also maybe risk averse, and I think it's like maybe it'll play out over time, right? We'll see. These things just got started 6 months ago, and yeah, I'm curious like how it plays out over the next year.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning, like, we're so knee deep in this, right? So, like, Coinbase in particular, everyone is a unique situation. Coinbase in particular, their staking infrastructure was a byproduct of the Bison Trails acquisition, which had a certain amount of IP in-house on their current staking setup, which is developed over time to be more sophisticated and secure from their staking engineering team. And, we're talking with them of like, what's the timeline till that old technology stack is upgraded to, that legacy validator stack is upgraded to distributed validators. And that timeline might be short or long, but I think going from their current stack to a Rocket Pool stack, if they are going to switch, like, I'm not sure I'd pick Rocket Pool.
Sure. The point stands, though, there are several solutions where you can be the node operator and make money on someone else's ETH, right? And so if it's not specifically Rocket Pool, get in one of those, right? I'm just surprised, like Kraken, they don't, right? They operate their individual nodes. They don't borrow and empower any LSD. Same thing with Coinbase. They don't empower any LSD. And there's money to be made there. And it just feels like billions of dollars, like literally close to $100 billion, is not operating anywhere close to an economically optimal, allocation of how they do staking.
Because Brian said so.
Fair.
That's it.
It seems like a persistent and difficult to justify. It's hard to say. It's just ignorance because it's been enough years. I'm sure someone from Rocket Pool must have said like, "Hey, you could make like an extra $1 billion if you did it this way," right? And I don't know. That hasn't been persuasive people.
like I think I don't want to hold JT up on this point. We'll move forward, but
No, you're
also
good.
like, how long are those new contracts even been in the wild? Like, how much Lindy is there with the unbonded contracts, and like how much stake weight has been exposed there to the point where like, you know what I mean? Like, I get it. There's like a lot of nuances, especially on like the economic incentivize, like where are you going if you're extracting max economics? But then there's all of the other like tail risks and concerns, even like the Oracle set. I haven't revisited the Rocket Pool Oracle set in a while, but like that exists. Obol has no oracles. So yeah, I'm not even pumping my bags there. Like that's kind of like that seems like table stakes.
I want to touch on institutional staking. We brought it up already. It's kind of ties into that. So, how long has Obol been offering institutional staking, and kind of how's it, how it started and how it's going?
Yeah. So I'll give my quick take, and I'd love to hear Cody's because we luckily have a lot of data that we're going to be sharing and like open sourcing like next week. Um, but like the origin is like Obol started as like a research effort, and then we raised a seed round in 2021 to really try to bring this technology to like have like real capital to not just be a research toy, but actually make it like the future of Ethereum. And so now we're, for almost 5 years into this adventure, and the initial adoption of distributed validators was primarily from liquid staking protocols like EtherFi and Lido and others trying to decentralize their operator sets. They said, hey, this technology really allows us to change the trust assumptions where we can cluster normal operators together and they can run our stake in a delegated way, unbonded. So like EtherFi and Lido have unbonded stake running on decentralized operator sets in these like clusters and squads. But now we're entering the next kind of early adopter phase, and the institutions and professional operators are saying, like, some of the unique value props of this technology is like a strict upgrade from our legacy validator technology. Like, the independent cluster architecture. Like, if I deploy my own cluster, it is its own independent micro network and does not talk to anyone else's clusters. So Obol is not a single network. It's actually like a sort of cosmo of thousands of independent networks, and each is a cluster. But also, like Heron as a middleware, how it's designed still allows for this inherent client diversity, where you can have a single validator have multiple different client designs. Where if we had a massive client issue on Ethereum, your cluster would actually not go down, and your validator in this like black swan would actually stay online. And there's, other things like the distributed DKG, the key generation is better and more secure, the active-active redundancy that takes place. And these unique value props are getting institutions to take notice, which is why even though adoption looks rapid, we're in the early phases. And Kody, maybe you can share your takes because the survey was pretty enlightening.
Yeah, and I think like there's a lot of other, I'd say, benefits to the technology that institutions would that I think they're going to value. One is I think we just saw with Kiln, like Kiln had an issue, they had to exit. I don't know how much it was, 1.5 million ETH. Jumped the execute to like 45 days or something. So, in that event, if those keys are compromised, they're still in the exit queue and they're still validating. So that person, that hacker, whoever has those keys, they could actually like leverage that and try to get them slashed or do something crazy.
Right now.
Like right now. And I think that's something that DVs can protect from. Like you have, if one node operator cannot impact the cluster. So if it was a 3-node operator or a 3-node cluster, Kiln got their keys compromised, those 2 other nodes would continue to attest, and whoever had the malicious keys could not do anything about it. And we're also integrating like a node operator, like an operator rotation, right? So you could actually rotate. So you could either rotate Kiln out if you didn't trust them anymore, or like reshare a new set of keys so that all those compromised keys are not worth anything anymore.
And the institutions, so that is a lot of that use cases are for the professional node operators, which are a distinct segment, like they're upgrading their legacy technology. But if you're an institution, a capital allocator who's just facing off with staking providers, you say like, do I want to stake all my ETH on this guy, P2P, Stakefish, Figment? I don't want to call it any names. There's a lot of players. They're all cool. Do I want to stake it on that guy? Or do I want to stake it in a cluster of multiple of those guys, and they all like are in an adversarial, not an adversarial, they're in a Byzantine fault tolerant style situation where if one of them acts up, or if a certain threshold of them act up more than one, you're still safe. And me, Bitmine, I'm actually in control, and I will eject you and pluck you out now if you are not acting in my economic terms. If we're renegotiating pricing, or if you are not performing well, and it creates this like mutable. I don't even know what to call it yet, honestly. It's something that's new, and it's a strict upgrade over legacy validator technology.
So, how has the interest been from institutions?
Yeah. Yeah. Next week we'll share all the data, but basically it's just like there's a very clear trend that like the end game of staking is distributed validators, and like over time this will become more apparent because of the inherent, value props.
Mm-hmm.
And we have hard numbers on like, what percentage. I think it's 70% are actively testing distributed validators, although
Wow.
maybe they haven't deployed a large portion of the stake. Other ones have deployed it in a small section of their infrastructure to kind of watch it and test it, and they're scaling over time. Because if, let's say you're Coinbase, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't even necessarily true. I'm saying as an example, you have 100% of your tech, your stake, which is 10% of the Ethereum network, right? Let's keep in mind, 10% of the Ethereum network is running on Coinbase, and it's on your legacy validator stack.
That number still.
You're going to test.
Is that a real number? 10%?
I think it's 12. Yeah.
God, people.
Yeah.
Wow.
I agree.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, long story short is you're going to test this new infrastructure before you transition everything over, right? And so we're just kind of in the early phases. Like the adoption cycle of distributed validators is the article, and like, would love for anyone to we can spar on those points later, because it is a weighty prediction, especially when Obol is, a 30 million, $10 million market cap project right now. It's just interesting. And the token doesn't affect the security of the network either. And so me as a deep tech investor, as well as like Ethereum maximalist, this excites me a lot.
It's pretty cool, because it sounds to me, and it's just me and my 5-year-old brain, the DVT aspects from an institution thing is just overall like better layers of security. It sounds like that would be the the way I would make the cake on that. So okay,
that's why you should probably do the marketing, because I'm babbling, and you're like, you can just say it's more secure, and then they'll be like, all right, I want to buy it, because that's true. That's the way you simplify it. It increasingly has better security properties.
Yeah, it's an overlapping security thing that is desirable. Yeah, that makes sense. And so I also want to give this is the Obol team. If you're tuning in on X, YouTube, Twitch, or if you're my mom on LinkedIn, we're glad that you're joining us. Make sure you hit a like button there. But Anthony and Kody from the Obol Collective Distributed Validator Technology, they got a report that's coming, the institutional report. I got a simple question. We're not bullish enough. That's not even a question, but we're not bullish enough. I'm sure that things are really stacking up out there, and I really wish the best for the Obol team. It looks like it's just a hockey stick this year for you guys. I mean, it's been a pretty dynamically disruptive year in terms of the amount of growth that has just exploded into the space, just with all the treasuries and obviously the ETF action and whatnot. So staking has a place, and I'm wondering from a regulatory side here in the United States, things seem to be looking like it's moving in the right direction. I'm trying to remember we just had the Genius Act, but the Clarity Act in November, I think, might further galvanize this North Star. Am I correct in assuming that staking's coming for these big boys and lady?
100%. I mean, Kody, I think you had the Ether scan that Grayscale is starting to cluster their ETH, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think we all saw that on Twitter. It made its way up there. But yeah, I think it's inevitable at this point, and it obviously has the backing of like the current administration. And yeah, first time, I've been bullish many times.
Yeah,
and this is like the most bullish I've been on adoption of crypto in general.
Yeah, for me, just zooming out, like we're 10 years into this experiment, is like I just still fundamentally believe that like Ethereum is the only chance at like a credibly neutral settlement layer. And obviously the validator plays like a very crucial central role in that whole like long-term story. And that's why I'm excited just to be working on it and trying to think about that every day on how can we more decentralize and more secure Ethereum. And we didn't even get into scaling Ethereum. We all want to scale Ethereum.
Yeah.
DA scales with node count. And if we don't have, unique individual nodes, like we're not scaling DA and definitely not in a secure way. We can't have all of our DA living in Coinbase and a few other entities, right? So, man, yeah, we're trying to do the good work here, and we appreciate everyone for the support.
For the crowd, and I know this, DA stands for data availability. There you go. I got that one. Hey, Treebeard, you're on stage. Do you want to ask your question, or I will? He has a question. He popped in the Dudes podcast channel on Discord. For Lido, etc., are these clusters generally run by a single operator to improve their fault tolerance, or are there mostly cross-operator clusters? Any potential for permissionless clusters with a bond?
Yeah, good question. So that, man, so few people are uneducated on Lido, and so you're asking like a very deep and important question, right? So a certain percent, around, I don't know what it's, 5%. 5% of Lido stake is running on simple DVT, which is like Obol distributed validators in an unbonded multi-operator setup of many clusters, right? I don't know how many there are. I should know this. It's probably like 50. I'm embarrassing for not knowing that exact metric, but a small percentage of their stake is running on Obol in unbonded distributed validator clusters, multi-operator, a lot of them being like mid-tier and home operators, right? Some professionals mixed in. But now, very few people are paying attention. Obol is moving into the curated set of Lido as well. We've announced in the last 3 weeks, Peer 2 is moving. We announced Stakely is moving, and we have more coming out in the following weeks. I'm not going to say to just like burn the news, and I don't know what legal looks like. But with that said, is I hope and I expect that also the Lido curated set will move into a larger portion of DVs over time. Those for now are in single operator setups. So it's strictly just to improve performance and fault tolerance, right? And also get Obol incentives, token incentives. We have bootstrapped token incentives for people using our technology. But I want the Lido curated set to be running on multi-operator setups and inside of those multi-operator clusters to have intra-client diversity. So that validator is robust to multiple operators, to operator failures, as well as client failures. And that's, the true end game we all need to fight for.
Matty Compost, aka I believe Next Level Fantasy, welcome in, has a question. Cooking a public goods squad staking initiative with the Green Pill Dev Guild, region coordination that revolves around Obol and the Lido CSM. At the core, it is just allocating a portion of the yield to whatever public good wallets that cluster wants to support via the splits contract. Wow. Okay.
Fire.
There we go.
Please, tell us about this in Discord, because we would love to promote this. You are operating at like the most cutting edge of Ethereum staking, where you're aware that you could have multiple people in a cluster splitting your rewards in different directions, and one of those splits is sort of like a nonprofit or funding public good mechanism. I wish more people were innovating in Ethereum to do this. Like, I'm also lazy. I wish my validator was splitting out rewards to different people, and one of those splits was like a barbecue budget for my good friend JT over here. But the primitives are there to do amazing things. Please share it in the Discord, and I would love to figure out how to do a small marketing campaign so everyone knows about the good work you're doing.
Hey, there's some grant. I smell some Obol
I do wonder
grants.
if there's I do wonder if this is a good chance to get some recurring revenue to the EV Maverick DAO for education. I know the source of all the octants, public good funding they do is staking, right? So they're going through a very direct route to do it. They're just taking all the staking rewards and eating that public goods, which is very admirable. But I wonder to what degree we could get the DAO some funding through this, and also take community members and make a squad of that, right, and become become a community node, and have the committee maybe voted on or authorized by the DAO through delegations. We can manage who is self-police, who is doing well and who isn't, or whatever, right? It might be
100%.
something that's very in line with the values of the EV Mavericks. I don't know. I have the throughput at the moment to take on that initiative, but it would be a good idea for maybe a proposal for the EV Mavericks, if not for grant funding, then just something, if we can find someone to spearhead it, someone to organize it, we could stand up a squad, and then we could divert the staking rewards to the EV Maverick DAO for grants, initiatives for education.
And so a few threads there. It's a great idea. The cool thing is that those who operate the validator don't have to be the same, but they could be the same as those who put in the capital. So like if you guys were going to spin this up, I might say, oh, I'm down to be an operator and put up some capital. Or I actually won't be an operator, but I'm down to actually put up some of the bond, just make sure I'm in the split. So when you guys exit later down the lane, I get my principal back. All of this can be designed and without oracles, with audited safe contracts that secure billions and billions. But it does have inherently a lot of overhead, but it's cutting edge technology. Yeah. It hasn't been as productized yet.
I was going to ask.
Yeah, I think that we're like
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think we're like far down in the stack, right? So you could do something like this, whether it's like on a Stakewise vault or like, I know Lido ST vault is coming out. Like we operate at like the client level. So that's the nice thing about DBs is like, no matter what your strategy is for staking, you can run DBs like on the back end.
Got it. I didn't know if there was more follow up here. Anthony,
that's good.
I was looking at show notes. You were on when you were still working for POAP in March of 2023. That's so cool.
Nice.
Yeah, in fact,
that's so cool.
I think, yes, I had you on a year ago on May 24th. So you're this is 3 times for you, and you've had a different hat in the ecosystem on each one of them. Most recently, Obol. So, and it's cool because I get to see your trajectory. I mean, POAP's the shit. Don't get me wrong, but you're very malleable. You're able to do all kinds of different things and stay within the Ethereum ecosystem and crypto in general. But we always knew you would. It's kind of like,
yeah,
we all tripped and fell in the rabbit hole, Kody and Anthony and I, and LogrisTheBard and Ben Broad. He's in the audience, Treebeard, 12 Meatballs. I mean, we fell in and we just stayed there. So
100%. I mean, I feel like most of us, once you go down the rabbit hole enough, like you kind of like never get out. And that doesn't mean it has to be your full-time job either. It might mean like you're just with the community and that's where you put some of your capital and you read about it. You're still part of the culture. I'm definitely one of those freaks who is like all in on the culture and the community and professionally. Mm-hmm. And like, the first time I came on, I was with POAP. Now I'm with Obol. I think I'll be with Obol for a long time. I just love working on things that I think could be like fundamentally like changing for Ethereum in a very positive way before people know about it. And then once they become where I can't deliver high enough impact, then I'll just leave. Mm-hmm. And like, it was kind of like that with POAP, there was some things that I thought, it didn't make a lot of sense. But with Obol is like, dude, I have this glimmering hope that we can have better client diversity, better security, and, trillions of dollars of security for the global settlement layer of Ethereum. And then Russia and the US, that's the only way they can settle up. You know what I mean? China and US, Europe, whatever. There's no second best.
There you go. Hey, and Ben Broad.
Who needs a second share, right?
Ben Broad put it in the chat. He said, I want to put it out there in front of Anthony and Kody. I'd love to chat about the sales engineer role. So there you go.
Dude, you can... cold DM me on Twitter and I can open it there, or go in the Discord, like Obol Discord, like Kody and I, like we're in there, and just be like, yo, let's chat. It is very highly competitive and I don't know where you are in the process, but like happy to take that offline.
I will say, Ben, you want to talk about somebody? I'm going to give him a personal recommendation just based on this alone. He's been along the ride helping to produce this podcast in the background now for well over a year, a complete volunteer, just like so much of the work that goes on around here. And he's always at the ready, very dependable. So I hope that he can at least get a look. And then Ben, you can write the check to Jeremiah Nickel and then just pop that in the mail for me. Thanks, bud.
And if the sale, you know what's funny, JT? So two things. I have been drinking my 2022 merge every day since I moved to Southern Utah recently.
No
I
shit.
drink all my water out every day. I'll share a picture with you later. Every day is my Ethereum mug that you gave me from 2022.
Oh my God.
But for the sales engineer, and if you're not a fit for that role, like there still could be some other areas that you might like be a fit. You know, we're changing how we do customer experience at Obol because of all these institutions. We need to be giving world-class white glove experience, and so I'm helping, you know, with Kody and some other team members to make sure customer experience is elite. So yeah, happy to talk offline. But yeah, JT, I drink my water out of that every day, man.
That's
the merge
funny.
mug.
Yeah, a little inside baseball. I made some mugs for some friends and hosted a barbecue, and everybody got the mug. So I'm glad it's being put to good use. Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm going to have to make one for Kody now, see. Let's see, is there anything else we want to cover here? I'm going to let you guys take the lead. If there's anything upcoming with Obol that you want to get out there, I know we're going to have you back relatively soon, maybe as a pop-in on another show to do the institutional report thing. But is there anything else we haven't covered?
Kody, I'd be interested in you giving your vision or pitch of the Obol stack, you know, knowing that it's very early, and just see how people feel about it. Like, we need to start getting user feedback eventually.
That's true.
I'm here for it. Let's do it.
Cool. Well, yeah, I'll drop a link in Discord to the landing page. But essentially, what we're trying to build with the Obol stack is I'll just say the pitch. It's a modular plug and play framework for decentralized infrastructure, which I'd say we can definitely improve on that pitch. Oh, and applications, yes. But essentially, the way I see it is that, like, right now I'm running my validator on my node at home. I'm running, you know, a solo node. Rocket Pool is plugged into it. My squad stake is plugged into it. I'm kind of like trying to maximize that one machine. And now there's new things coming online, like Aztec Layer 2 that I also like plan on running on that machine. And the Obol stack, so like, you can imagine right now my machine looks like I've duct taped a bunch of different pieces together to like, you know, Docker composes and systemd things and like all these, like I'm almost afraid to touch it at this point because I feel like it's this Frankenstein of a machine. And what we're trying to build with the Obol stack is something that is like much more modular and scalable. It's built on Kubernetes and Helm, which I actually don't know very much about, but apparently they like make everything easier for the node operator and for the developer, which is actually what, at the end of the day, what it comes down to. Because I'm a node operator and I'm not like super technical. I just want it to be easy and work, and I don't want to be afraid to change things. So yeah, the Obol stack is a way to essentially make the most out of your validating machine by running other decentralized infrastructure like layer 2s or AVSs or validator sidecars like pre-conf protocols, commit boost, to you know, make the node operator's life easy and maximize the rewards. But on the developer side, since it's built in Kubernetes and Helm, it's super composable with like any of these layer 2's Helm charts that you know, they can be deployed on the Obol stack. So yeah, there's a lot of different threads to pull on there. I'd say another one that I'm actually excited about is like running a local version of like your favorite app. So like we've seen all the hacks on like these front ends, and a lot of times, you know, sometimes I want to go swap a token. I always go to CowSwap. That's like my go-to spot. But you know, if I could run something locally and not be concerned about you know, this front end being compromised or like signing a malicious message, that's something I would do, and that we're working on running like all apps locally as well. So yeah, that's a pitch on the Obol stack.
I'm scared every time I sign my Gnosis save.
Oh God, yeah. When Gnosis emits the transaction to the hardware wallet, what actually hits the hardware wallet is completely inscrutable. Like you just take
Yep.
like the most basic ERC20 approval, right? And you actually look at the data that hits the hardware wallet, and you have no idea what's going on anymore, right? It obfuscates any chance of me being able to use the hardware wallet to catch a malicious wallet transaction, right? Where Rabby gets compromised or something, and so it gets sent to the hardware wallet. It's wrong. Well, I'd be able to catch that if I wasn't using multisig, but in the multisig, hopeless.
Yep.
For sure.
Well, that's the pitch for the Obol stack.
Even on my big Grid Plus screen, can't read all the different things happening on my Gnosis transactions.
So if you want a primer on like what Kubernetes and Helm are and the value of that, right? So if you're using Docker Compose, that runs on a single machine, right? And if something goes wrong with that machine, there's nothing to pick it up and move it elsewhere. Kubernetes is something that was built by Google. It was originally called Borg, and it's basically for coordinating Docker instances amongst different nodes. So now if your container crashes, it knows the state of that, and it can pick it up and launch it on another node in that same network. And so you don't have the downtime. It'll self-heal by just porting it to wherever it needs to go. So you describe to Kubernetes and say, I want one of this container running, and it'll figure out via scheduling where it should go. But if a node suddenly goes down, is unavailable, or the container is crashing and not coming up there for some reason, it can try a different node. So if you have a hard drive failure or something that's stopping it from loading files, mounting something, right, with network partition, whatever is happening, it is Google's best attempt to make a self-healing cloud so that they can reduce the engineering stress of being on call, which sounds pretty good for us, right? Now, Helm is just a template
100%.
layer on top of that. It's just a way of describing things to Kubernetes, right? So Kubernetes takes these documents and it just it'll say, okay, as I said, here's the container, here's the image that you need to run, here's the resources it needs for scheduling purposes, blah, 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 blah. Helm is just a template layer on top of that. So it uses Golang templating. Basically, it allows you to change what the volume amount is or where the secret is or other facts about it, right? But at the end of the day, it just renders down to Kubernetes and adds some metadata. It says, hey, this thing is Kubernetes. Now, Kubernetes documents, you can put them all under a single file. Then you hit kube control apply, and like cleaning up is kind of a mess, right? So Helm also adds some metadata on all the Kubernetes documents that basically says this is managed by this Helm chart. So if you do like Helm destroy this chart, right, or Helm uninstall this thing, it'll go and find 20 different Kubernetes documents and delete all of those. So it improves management at a level above the document level in Kubernetes. All of this is, as you said, something that just makes it easier, especially because Helm charts are composable. So we can get multiple Helm charts all called under the same Helm chart in a sort of recursive way. So you can have 20 of them install as a single Helm chart and then delete them all as the same thing or upgrade them all at the same time, right? Through one statement, which makes all of your dev docs a lot easier.
That's what we're hoping is if, there's a standardized, we're able to easily standardize the Helm chart building process and it flows well into the Obol stack.
Right.
That
So
people
what you
can
have to standardize is the value
them.
names.
Yeah.
So when you're doing these recursive charts, there's nothing that maps a value at the top level down to the child chart. So you have to make the value names line up by a coordination. But once you do that, then you can take the same value, maybe it's a secret somewhere or a volume name or something, and just use it across all the child charts without any.
We should have you talk
effort.
to one of our engineers on the Obol stack. I feel like that'd be a good conversation.
That's
Absolutely.
LogrisTheBard from
talk. You can reach out,
Tokenomics Explained.
Yeah.
Consultant.
I am a software architect by training. I know a lot about this stuff.
And that's why he's the technical interviewer. Well, fellas, we're coming up on an hour. I want to be respectful of your time before we head into the next part of the show. How can we follow you?
Man, homevalidator.eth on Twitter for me, and then Obol is Obol_collective on Twitter, obol.org on the website. We got to update the website though. The website's quite ugly. But yeah, if you want to have questions, come hang in the Discord. Thank you. I mean, it's always good to hang. JT, good to hang with all you guys. And yeah, thank you, Logri, for the awesome questions.
Well, you don't have to go if you don't want to. Yeah, go ahead, Kody.
I'm really looking forward to what's going to come with with the ETF staking, and these stats really start to move in bulk, right? I think we have another shot to really redefine the staking landscape.
Yeah.
Also, Lido has, to their credit, been moving in a positive direction over the years. So both from a node operator, perspective, client diversity perspective, I think the whole ecosystem has really had a lot of positive evolutions over the last couple of years, and distributed validator technology is certainly amongst them, right? Just it's provably a better way to reduce certain execution risks, right? And just have more reliable infrastructure, which is the core of the whole consensus machine that Ethereum is there for, right?
100%.
Well said.
Yep.
All right. If you guys want to stick around, I'm going to read Reddit so you don't have to. We always love to have our guests take on color commentator duties if you can. If you can't, you can give us an Irish goodbye at any time, and we really appreciate you guys hanging out with us today.
If Vitalik took time off,
all right, it is time.
we would lose
Thanks, JT.
a great
Thank you.
researcher.
All right, so we're going to switch over here to our leaderboard. Number 10, Aiden Cairo, 118. Ethical Trade at 118. Crypto Out Currency at 125. JS Tears at 127. Hanny Abu 134. Tricky Troll 162. Benito 2030 at 175. Super Fizz at 231. LogrisTheBard at 236. And Harog at 260. This is dailydoots.com, designed and produced by our very own Hanny Abu. And he's a wonderful person. He's on vacation right now, so we're not going to go through the rest of the stuff here as normal. I'm going to raw dog it right off of Reddit, just like the old times. Raw dog Reddit, I like to call it. All right, so we're going to pop right on over to our Trinity. Alexis Kef. Alex is Kef. I always say it backwards. It chimes in Ethereum. Numerous ruined 49.47. Ethereum is sound money. Okay. And the price at the time of writing was 39.62. I think we might be up a little bit from there, and that ratio at 0.03593. Our JS tiers, our haiku of the week: Ether Commuter, Liquidity Sharpshooter, the world computer. JS Tears. How does he do it? How does he do it every single day? A daily haiku until we get to 0.178 on that ratio. By the way, Bert and Kody, since you guys are old mavericks, do you recognize the name JS Tears? Do you know who that is? I learned this recently.
JS Tears.
He is the organizer of ETHCC Paris. He's a founder.
Mm-hmm.
He's like a main founder. Jerome. Yeah, cool.
Oh, Jerome.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a legend.
Yeah, super nice guy. It's so crazy that I was able to put a face to a name, and he's from France. And the funniest thing happened on our live stream because he dropped an F-bomb and he said, "Pardon my French," and I was like, "That's the funniest shit." That was like the funniest thing I'd ever heard. Of like, I have finally seen like a bucket list item where a Frenchman says, "Pardon my French." Okay. Anyway. Clam Chota chimes in. Take my energy. Thank you, Clam Chota. All hail the eternal crab at Astra. There it is, the crab in the middle. Says, once again, Sisyphus's rock is rolling down the hill towards the inevitable bottom. In his infinite love and wisdom, the eternal crab set it in motion with a gentle push, just as the arduous task of rolling it uphill was complete, and the hodler was happy at this accomplishment. Oh my God, we got the best ship posters and our ship post of the week, because we always like to save the best for first. The Swingman. Since ETH longs got liquidated, hold on one second, I'll make sure I got that right. Is this the shit? I think it is the shit. Yeah, okay, this is the shit. I was right. All right. Since ETH longs got liquidated, I decided to liquidate my fridge and pantry and made some tuna salad. Here's how I did it. Posted the recipe. This sounds familiar. I remember posting recipes back in the day. Boom. Liquidated kitchen tuna salad inspired by today's ETH action. It came out pretty good. Look at that. There's some love in there. Look at the walnuts, cherries. I am starving. This sounds so freaking good.
Yeah, that just reminds me I'm hungry.
It's a good trinity there. Mayo, sour cream, and Dijon. Speaking of French. Thank you so much, Swingman, for the salad recipe here. A Deuter number 16 for this week. All right, Benito 2030, Deuter 176 discusses Ethereum superpower and composability. In one of the recent podcasts, a guest, I think it was the debate at Bankless, said, quote, "I think the superpower of blockchains is composability," unquote. Now, obviously, money Legos are not new, so it's not like this is a completely innovative thought. But in connection with all the L2 versus L1 and owning infra debate, it still stuck with me. Companies use Amazon, AWS, but they will move away if there is an advantage. Infra is not a sexy thing, but if infra is actually infra plus a USP in the form of direct benefits for your customers, and of course distribution, because money sitting on the infra can more easily access your new shiny product, then that is different. The TLDR, I think the focus should really be on the UX interoperability part of Ethereum to show companies where they should build to get the max out of unsexy infra. Hey, Treebeard, you're hot miking, sir. Thanks. Harag replies, this is the top Deuter of our Ethereum. Agree. Interoperability is a key component, what makes Ethereum interesting. In a recent Bankless podcast, Ondo Finance guys were asked why they chose Ethereum. They had 3 reasons: real-world assets, total value lock, DeFi ecosystem, and the very well-established intense framework, which they need to tokenize to redeem stocks. Here's the link to the interesting part, and there's a YouTube clip. We won't open it. When I heard that, I was honestly a bit surprised because intents have been used on Ethereum quite a bit. I think CowSwap was the first DEX which used them, but I was not aware that other chains are lacking in that regard. It's good to hear that all the discussion about intents and their implementation in the last few years are bearing fruits now. All right.
Man, Intense were so crazy. That hype cycle around Intense, I feel like people talked about it all day, every day for like 6 to 12 months.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well said. Let's see. Rhythm of ETH, Deuter number 59. The hypothesis is a very unlikely but theoretically possible black swan for Tether. Oh, strap in. You got to love some Tether FUD. I mean, it wouldn't be like it's just Tether FUD. There's so much of it at some point. It's like, are we just going to keep doing this? It's still got the slimy vibe to it. All right, Rhythm of ETH. Just a thought of a potentially massive grift that the current U.S. administration could carry out with stablecoins. Bear with me. It's just a fun thought exercise, all right?
We have pizzas. We have 300 hamburgers. Many French fries.
One of the key things about U.S. Treasury bonds is that mostly countries and U.S. citizens can hold them. Lately, the U.S. has been hinting and not wanting to honor debt associated with bonds held by China, which has resulted in China being forced to sell on discount said bonds to other countries, and the corresponding Chinese pivot to gold. Doing this, saying you won't pay your debt, is a massive hit to confidence in the dollar. See how weak it has become, and can result in political and diplomatic turmoil for the U.S. This administration is clearly walking this path. But you know which type of entity has no real countermeasures to this? No tariff war to be had? No geopolitical tensions to raise? Yup. A company like Tether. What if one day Trump decides not to honor the debt associated with any treasuries owned by Tether, making those specific bonds and their identifier codes as void? Is this a get out of jail free card? Interesting. All right. Well, if that happened, Tether could be depaid. Numerous Rune 4947 replies, Deuter number 17. If that happened, Tether could depay, which would likely cause significant damage to the entire cryptocurrency market. On top of that, the U.S. credit rating would collapse, since no one would want to buy U.S. bonds if the government couldn't simply renege on its obligations.
Yep. And then, rates would pile up, and then, we'd start getting runaway inflation and devalue the dollar a lot. I mean, you got to do something, right? There's a $200 trillion national debt coming from unfunded liabilities. There's got to do something. Seems our plan is to inflate it, which is the oldest trick in the book.
You're so positive. But it is the state of the world, sadly. I mean, there's no sugarcoating it. Yeah. Yeah, there's no sugar.
Yeah, it just is happening.
It's
like
happening.
We are not going to honor our obligations at face value. We may devalue our obligations to a point that we can honor them, or we may renege on certain social contracts, which also seems to be happening, right? Raise the retirement age, or just say Social Security is going to get cut by 30% or whatever, right? We may renege on some of those promises in that way, but just as we keep funding the initiatives at face value, we are extending lives with medical technology so that we can pay for longer lives on Social Security and more expensive medical treatments every year as we invent new medical treatments, right? So it's something's going to break, and what's going to break is the dollar, or at least the U.S., right? So not to get into it too much, we've talked about before, but yeah, we live in a collapsing empire.
Yeah, what we need to do is start a war and pay for this. Okay, never mind. I'm just kidding. That's what we used to do. Hope we don't ever do it again, but here we are. Hey. All right, LogrisTheBard. LogrisTheBard. With the recent Hyperliquid USDH saga, how long until Binance and others follow a similar route? Will USDB be minted so Binance can receive all the T-bill revenue for stablecoins? Sorry, I gotta get my screen. For stablecoins on their platform instead of Tether. Right now, Frax is backed by a lot of USDC and Biddle. How long until they either directly back with treasuries or get a better deal with a backing stablecoin than they are getting now? Even some of the permissionless layer 2s like Arbitrum could preferentially emit yield to pools that back a stablecoin that pays them yield. Given the magnitude involved as an L2, you don't need to profit on block space, just stablecoin TVL. How could the EF do something similar to promote the adoption of an official stablecoin on ETH mainnet? This seems under-discussed here compared to the significance of the paradigm shift this would cause. The Hans Gruber replies at a Deuter 37, if the yield that is generated from T-bills that are backing stablecoins is the end game. I've talked about my thoughts on the current upcoming stablecoins wars here, but it was some time ago. All right. And there is still all this hullabaloo of if or how the yield gets distributed to the stablecoin holders. What if we ask the EF or Etherealize to skip all these stablecoin shenanigans and instead ask them to lobby and collaborate with the Fed to allow direct minting of the T-bills on chain? An official T-bill contract being on ETH mainnet feels right. Maybe they launch their own L2, but I like the idea of mainnet. It's big, it's heavy, it's solid. The Fed operates on ETH. Besant says he wants a multiple trillions of USD stablecoins, but what he actually wants is, and he crosses out to punch people in the face. But that's funny. But what he actually wants is to sell multiple trillions in T-bills that he knows backs them. Users could take their tokenized T-bills and use them on chain as collateral for loans to LP, or to take them and mint whatever stablecoin offers the best incentives. In this way, the free market decides what the best stablecoin will be instead of attempting to make a, quote, official, unquote, stablecoin, which I sort of thought was already DAI. DAI. But with the rebranding and how cloudy the whole situation has become, I'm not so sure. And also ETH as collateralized versus T-bills, and also ETH as collateral versus T-bills. There may be some circular logic here that I'm missing at the moment because I'm tired. Oh, nice reference. That is the end of the world. Yeah, that was a funny gift back in the day. Logris says in reply to that, we're essentially talking about negotiating the revenue split of the T-bill revenue to various parties related to the stablecoin. Right now, the issuer, Tether, gets 100%. With a tokenized T-bill, you're suggesting the EF creates the holder, that the EF creates, the holder gets 100%. Somewhere in the middle is a split where the issuer takes 100% and then gives kickbacks to the holder, such as earning yield on USDC if held on Coinbase. Now we have Hyperliquid saying that the platform with the TVL deserves the lion's share instead of either the issuer or holder because they are the ones drumming up the demand for the coin to begin with. So the issuer gets maybe 5%, the platform or app gets 95%, and the holder 0%. Oh. A fairer split in my mind is the issuer gets 5%, the platform app layer gets 50%, and the holder gets 45% via kickbacks and yield from the platform app, where the TVL is. Nice one. Good job.
So yeah, do our guests want to pontificate on this one? Because I think that we've seen the earliest version of this type of thing was Circle struck a deal with Coinbase, where Coinbase gets 50% of the revenue of the USDC, right? For basically being the source of the demand for USDC. And then the official stablecoin for Coinbase was USDC. Then, I mean, what's that? That's basically a split saying like, look, now Coinbase, it doesn't just then keep its all the yield for itself. It says, okay, I'm going to take that profit from Circle, I'm going to shove it into a marketing budget, and then I'm going to have a promo where I give USDC that's on Coinbase 4% yield or 3.7% yield, right? So they forward that profit back to the user. And there's some split because some of the USDC is not on Coinbase, right? It's over in DeFi, so it's not eligible for that yield. So there is some split that's happening. And that's the earliest example of this I'm aware of. Now we just have USDH from Hyperliquid that did this in RFP style. So they basically said, well, we're not going to state an opinion on what the split should be. We're going to let the stablecoins, basically the issuers, write a proposal, and they'll tell us what the split should be. And like not just one, but like 8 different stablecoins came in at like 95% going to Hyperliquid. Mm-hmm. Right? So it's not like in a single opinion. It wasn't as though Hyperliquid said this was the opinion. Previous split seemed to be 50-50, but it came in at like 95%. And when
95% going to the Hyperliquid DAO,
yeah.
And then 5% going to the entity managing the infra?
That's managing the issuing the stablecoin.
Okay. And then they expect Hyperliquid to take that 95% and decide how they want to incentivize users, if so, correct?
If so, yeah.
Yeah. So my view, well, yeah, just the reason why I don't think an official T-bill contract being on ETH mainnet feels right in the short term is, well, so first off, I'd love that, right? I think instead of going like to Fed Direct or whatever, having it on chain is great. But I think like, we got to think about like user psychology, right? T-bills generally are going to have their own like floating valuation based on like market movements, etc. Where most users are like relatively not sophisticated, like they want a stable currency. So I think they'll always opt for the dollars over a treasuries on chain. But I do feel like there's probably some kind of market forces that force the yield to be passed to users over time. But I don't know. It depends how sophisticated users are. Anyway,
I mean, let's say there's 2 Hyperliquid markets. Hyperliquid Market 1 is with USDC or whatever I think that's what they're using now. Hyperliquid Market 2 is with USDH. And they're going to take that 95% yield and give liquidity farming basically to the liquidity that's parked on the USDH pools. Do you think that the extra revenue from that is going to entice people to migrate most of the liquidity onto the USDH pool? If Curve did something similar, right? Or let's say Aave. Aave says, look, you can park your USDH here, the equivalent, whatever they would make. And we're going to we're going to go to Circle. And we're going to say, Circle, we expect you to pay us 50% of the T-bill yield that you get for the USDC on Aave. We've got a market cap over time, so we know how much that is. Give 50% of that over to Aave, and we will use that to do liquidity farming on the USDC pool, basically to encourage growth of USDC. It's it's how to promote the growth of your stablecoin. Do you think that Circle would go for something like that? Right? And if not Circle, could they just go to any other stablecoin and say, actually, we're going to promote, Tether, you want to grow, we'll offer the same deal to you. Or, Frax, you want to grow, we'll offer the same deal to you. It is obviously the case that the platform, the application, is the source of the demand for a lot of stablecoins. They deserve a non-zero amount. The users that are holding it deserve a non-zero amount. Right now, 100% is going to the stablecoin issuer as the sort of standard for the industry. This is a good, once we see this work, if it works, right? It's an easy pattern to copy. And I think it can be contagious across the ecosystem. It can cause a massive renegotiation of the where the T-bill revenue goes, to what parties, to which applications. How does an L2 take their share of this? How does an application take their share of this? How does a user get their share of this? What's a stablecoin issuer's share of it, right? We can renegotiate it from 100% 000 to something that has a spread there, right? And I think that's probably healthy. And if we actually believe there's going to be like $4 trillion of stablecoins making 4%, then this is like a $160 billion decision we're talking about a year. This is not small potatoes.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess it depends who you're talking to. Like the unsophisticated users, I'm not too sure how much they're even paying attention to this, but I agree.
Well,
it
they
requires
could say,
some
hey,
thinking.
pool 1 on Aave offers 4%, pool 2 on Aave offers 6%. Am I willing to swap and deposit in at 6%? Right, that's a very simple question to users. Pool 2 is just taking the treasury yield and forwarding it to them as liquidity farming in some way, which appears as a higher rate. What do you think is going to be more attractive to people? I think generally, if you have USDC equivalents that are just paying you a higher rate in Aave, the liquidity will migrate to that, right?
You'd think so.
So as long as the friction between stablecoins is very low, and we can see the dexes make it pretty low, right? We can get more fancy atomic transactions, and we're getting all the paymaster stuff for account abstraction. People will basically just be able to zap it, right? Be able to bridge the USDC on chain and then zap it into an Aave vault is basically the USDC equivalent on Aave, and just make more yield that way, right? And it'll cost them a penny for the move and the swap, right? So it'll be. I think that there is a chance for this to really renegotiate where who benefits from the treasury yield, and this comes directly at Tether's bottom line, right? This is a shot as an ecosystem. Tether thinks they're worth $500 billion as a company.
Yeah,
can we make them worth $5 billion? Can we take their bottom line?
Logri, on that note, did they not were they not asking for a raise of $20 billion at a $500 billion valuation?
Yeah,
what
Tether
do they
thinks
need
that they're
$20 billion for?
They won't say. And that should be kind of a red, yellow flag, if not a red flag. That should be kind of a cause for concern for investors.
I'm so puzzled
but it's
by
investors
that.
choosing to give it to them. So if they can get investors to give them $20 billion, then I guess they deserve $20 billion. What are they going to do with it? Normally, you'd think the due diligence of investors would be to ask. So what are you going to do with $20 billion?
I know what they're going to do.
But if no one bothers to ask that and you just fund it, then okay, Tether, fine. I guess you're worth $500 billion. But they're valued highly because they have almost no employees and they're taking all this treasury bill yield. So if we can get this, if USDH succeeds and we can use it as a pattern to renegotiate where that yield goes, you can take it straight out of Tether's bottom line and use it to promote the growth of DeFi, right? Because the higher the yields in DeFi, the higher that arbitrage spread is between the T-bill and the DeFi yield, the more capital is going to migrate on-chain sooner. If stablecoin yields are 20% instead of 10%, you can bet more money would be flooding into DeFi even faster than it is. And it's going at like $1 billion a day right now, right? So if we can renegotiate where that treasury yield is going, use it to create higher rates in DeFi and promote the growth of DeFi platforms, you can bet it's going to speed adoption of the entire ecosystem.
All right.
So I like to see what they try to do. I like how they did it without being prescriptive and saying, here's what we deserve, and we let the stablecoin issuers frame what they think they deserve, right? And then the DAO got to vote on the stablecoin, the issuer that they liked, and it went to native markets, and with like a 95% vote, and it didn't just give like half of the half of the money from the T-bills to Hyperliquid. It gave like 95%. It was like all of them came into that range. It was like 90 to 100%. So it's obviously the stablecoin issuers are willing to, if they have to fight and be competitive about it, they're willing to lose like 90% of their revenue just to secure the remaining 10%. So how can we utilize that to drop Tether's revenue from, many billions of dollars down to make them not worth $500 billion, make them worth $10 billion or $50 billion or something sane, right?
Mm-hmm. We'll see what happens. I think you got some ideas swimming around, man. That's pretty interesting. Okay. Moving on. I got to switch screens over here. Let's see. Grow the Pie. Grow the Pie gives us a blob update. We had Grow the Pie on last week, I believe. A blob update. Yesterday, we hit an average of 5.35 blobs per block. That's a new high. All right. Bringing us close to the current target of 6 with the max of 9. That's a 76% increase from when Pectra went live. With Fusaka, more changes to the blob market are planned, including PeerDOS, which would enable an increase to 128 blobs per block over time. And more on this here at Farcaster.org. And you can follow the link here at dailydoots.com. User Rhythm of ETH getting another shout today. It looks like due to number 59, a drama in the crypto streets. Rhythm of ETH touches on the current decentralization debate. All right, the TLDR for Ethereum layer 1. FTC has nothing to say here. Stage L2, stage 0. The FTC can destroy you for hosting and trading securities. FTC is Federal Trade Commission, I believe. Layer 2, stage 1. The FTC might think they can destroy your L2 and would need a positive ruling in favor of Base to prove that this is not true. And layer 2, stage 2, FTC has nothing to say here. So Coinbase is in the middle of legal battles over whether their L2 base can or cannot host securities according to a 1940s act. Meaning, Coinbase is being told that having control over sequencers in its L2 effectively means they control DEXs running on it. The silver lining is that Base is an L2. It posts proofs to Ethereum L1, which means they don't truly own the DEX behavior because code is law. And the silver lining is that Base is a stage 1 L2. This means Base does not have custody of anything on it. The Security Council can change code forcefully, but it has a quorum blocking share that is independent from Coinbase. Now is when Base hugs Ethereum. Now is when we care about stages after all this time. Harog getting a double shout this week. Harog covers most of the major risks for Ethereum at this stage in its development and adoption. Harog writes, a few bear cases for our space. Some have been mentioned by others already. These points are obviously all speculative and depend on decisions done in the future. I read this. This is a great write-up. This is a good, well thought out bear case. So for anybody that knows that we're all Ethereum maxis, you are correct. However, on our Ethereum on Reddit, we do have discussion about reality, and we do discuss actual good bear cases minus the FUD. All right, so few bear cases for our space. Some have been mentioned by others already. These points are all obviously speculative and depend on decisions done in the future. Point number 1. Decentralization, censorship resistance, and credible neutrality are not demanded by anyone in this space. There's your headline. So we end up in a walled garden of centralized databases like Tempo, BNB, and Solana. And as always, no one needs these properties until they need them because they got debanked. At the moment, there are quite a few projects which claim to be much more decentralized than they really are to get street cred. Similar things happened since the inception of our space, so not too worried here. Second point, staking centralization. might be that in a few years only a handful of entities run validating nodes, which makes it easier to collude for personal gains. Largest node operator is Coinbase, which has 11% of all validators. That number just shocks me. After them comes Kiln and Kraken with 5% each, and then many in the 1 to 2% range. This means we are in an okay spot at the moment, as there would need to be many entities colluding to do anything to the network. But centralization is, in my view, the natural way things go, and there needs to be a constant battle against it. All right, next point. People stop running non-validating nodes. This means no one outside of the inner circle is even checking the integrity of the chain anymore. This might make stealth upgrades possible. See, for example, an upgrade that was pushed on Solana by the Solana Foundation and the node operators last spring. The public only realized 2 weeks later that they stealthily updated the chain. That's scary stuff, and he provides a link. Next point. Resource demand for running a node skyrockets. This would lead to staking centralization, as mentioned above. It's difficult to balance and therefore can be slowly eroded over time. Next point, an upgrade bricks the network. At the moment, Ethereum has 100% uptime, no rollbacks, and no downtimes. Much better than anything else in our space. A narrative that can be lost with a single bug. Next point, there just isn't enough demand for all the transactions we are scaling for, similar to the first point. All right. How about privacy? It never gets implemented properly. At the moment, every transaction is transparent. For many states, it is easy to connect your name to everything you are doing. You supported a group which is against the current people in power? That is straight to jail with you. There are ways to anonymize your transactions, but they are cumbersome and might make further transactions with centralized entities difficult. Roll-ups. They might never get implemented properly. At the moment, the largest roll-ups do have lower security guarantees than they could have. Most are working towards improving that, but progress is slower than, at least I, expected. Ethereum governance. Here we go. That process gets co-opted by malicious actors. What if that happened? Or it turns into a fruitless turf war. Ethereum governance is complex, but has shown a lot of resilience against influence of single actors, which is great for a credible neutral network. This could get subverted by some larger entities. All right. People might like Ethereum, the network, but not use Ethereum, the token, as much. That's a bear case. Similar to how many people love Bitcoin, the token, but only very few use the network at all. I think I agree with this. Just case in point is the amount of USDC, yielding things that don't necessarily need a lot of ETH to operate. Okay, how about this? A decentralized network of companies like the Ethereum space is not as efficient in pushing narratives as other projects in the crypto space. Having thousands of uncoordinated voices makes it easier for malicious actors to divide and conquer. There's a Wikipedia article called Defeat in Detail. Harag wraps up. I'm sure I missed many other possible bear cases. As you can imagine, I am all in on ETH. Not because I think it is smooth sailing for the Ethereum space, but because I think other ecosystems are in much rougher water than they claim to be. And some haven't even built a ship yet, but claim to already winning the race. I am honestly not sure where to read about all the bear cases. In my view, Ethereum space has a lot of intellectually honest people which discuss the bad sides and trade-offs of certain paths in detail, but I do not know of any easily accessible site. For me, one of the better ones is Vitalik's website, which discusses alternative roads from time to time. Podcasts where he appears are always great, and the way he discusses topics is easy to see bear cases if things go a different path. Well, that was very good. Thank you, Harok. So if you can see my screen here, I told him, I said, damn, dude, you're such a machine. And then he has this meme of a guy putting a square peg in a round hole. But to be fair, I think sometimes I find the right answer, but seldomly on the first try. He's too damn humble. this is good. It's
Yep.
quality.
A lot of the best of us are.
Yep. Yeah, it's wonderful.
So it makes HodlerCon so fun. You actually get a bunch of really quality people there.
Did Hara go to HodlerCon?
Yep. He was in Thailand with us.
Okay, but not in Hawaii? Or,
I don't recall. He may have been at Hawaii. But yeah, like Alexis Keff was at HodlerCon. Tricky was at HodlerCon.
Oh yeah, I remember I'm meeting Tricky. I'm meeting Tricky, and I'm like, dude, I won't dox anything about him, but yeah, what a gent. Good dude. Yeah, shout out to Tricky Troll. He's the one that does all of these daily dudes now. It has been
thousands of them,
1,200 or so days, and I mean, very, very rarely does he miss. Very rarely. I mean, when I was doing it, I didn't miss
it's
either.
Easier.
It's just hard.
The dude count's gotten smaller. We had one day this week that had all of 2 dudes.
Yeah,
so,
well, the comments, there's some days pretty quiet in there. I'd much rather that it's like 1 or 2 than it is 10, and it's like you're just kind of trying to find anything to find, make 10 happen. Don't force it.
Yeah,
I'd
rather there was enough. I'd rather there's enough quality writers and material. There was always 10 good ones, and we were fighting for them. But community has shrank a lot.
Yeah. Well, the comments have. I always feel like on a high price action days, it's like, oh, there you are. It's like there's so many people. Well, Kody's a maverick, that we were interviewing earlier. He's a maverick. He's just a lurker. He commented enough to get his EVM, but a lot of these people are, they're just quiet. What I noticed though, I still see like on pretty regular occurrence, first time duders every week. Now we have 1,200. I'll switch my screen here. We have 1,252 duders on the list now. I mean, it's pretty awesome. Like even, let's say getting to 10 dudes. Okay. The amount of people that have 10 dudes or more is 1,000, basically. That's pretty incredible. Or not 1,000, but like 250 or so. So it takes something to get on that list. You got to be thinking about it. Oh, hey, here we go. Speaking of first time duder, Blue Tank 20. Blue Tank 20 is a first time duder making the weekly list here. So congrats. Blue Tank 20 says, explains like we're 14 how Bitmine's latest raise isn't all that good for shareholders. Here we go. Imagine you have a lemonade stand. And your lemonade is really, really popular. Yeah. Well, let's say your company, Bitminer, is worth a lot of money because people really love your lemonade. Now, you decide you need some extra cash to buy a bigger juicer and more lemons. You have a few options, but you decide to sell some ownership in your lemonade stand. Here's the deal you just made. You just sold 5 million shares, a tiny piece of ownership for $70 each. The day before, your shares were only worth $61.29, so it seems like a great deal. You got $45 million more than your shares were worth, air quotes, on the market. That's like selling a single cup of lemonade for $7 when everyone else is selling it for $6.13. Sounds awesome, right? But you also gave away 10 million, quote, warrants. Think of a warrant like a coupon. This coupon gives someone the right to buy one of your shares for $87.50 at some point in the future. This coupon is super valuable. Even though the person has to pay $87.50 later, the coupon itself is worth a lot of money right now. The expert says this coupon is worth about $27 each. Well, why is it so valuable? Because if you're super cheap $87.50 and instantly make a ton of money. So the coupon is like a lottery ticket with a high chance of winning. Oh, okay. Wait, there it is. I had to do the price right. Okay. All right. Okay. So the coupon is like a lottery ticket with a high chance of winning. You just gave away $281 million worth of these valuable coupons for free. So let's do the math. You gained $45 million from the great deal on the share sale. You gave away $281 million in valuable coupons, the warrants. So what's the final result? $45 million gained, minus 281 million given away is negative 236 million. Instead of getting ahead, you actually gave away a huge amount of value from your lemonade stand. You got a nice little boost of cash up front, but you put your company in a position where others can make a huge profit at your expense. The part about, air quotes, hedging is like this. The person who got the coupons can now go out and make more money by making bets that your stock will go up, which makes them even richer. So while it looked like you got a great deal at first glance selling shares for a high price, you secretly gave away a massive amount of value, and it hurt your company in the long run. It was a massive shaft to shareholders, which means it was really bad deal for the people who own your company. Damn. Well, that's a hell of a banger for a first-time duder. Keep talking, Blue 1020. Logri, you even like that one. Good. That's nice. Oh, Tricky Troll loved it. 12 meatballs like it. Speaking of which, I saw in the audience here, we got Palaya and Peg City. Welcome in. I'm glad you guys could join. Peg City, I haven't seen you in a long time, man. Good to have you here. All right. User Trillions Dollar Tech Duder 17. Trillions Dollar Tech has been rising up on the old comment chain for a few weeks now, so appreciate their input. All right, here we go. Let's see. Ethereum has to stop playing defense when it comes to policy and education. This is exactly what the other side says privately to regulators and policymakers. Quote, sequencers should be regulated, unquote. Or, quote, Ethereum is not scalable, unquote. They'll say it with a straight face, and they don't even care if it's true. History shows that's how this game works. Microsoft framed Netscape as a threat to Windows and won the browser war. IBM painted PC clones as unsafe junk to slow competition. OSI told governments that TCP/IP wasn't secure or scalable. None of those stories were true, but the reputation shaped policy and delayed adoption. Business is war. The first casualty is truth. And if you sit back hoping good tech alone will carry you, you are in trouble. We have few amazing people working on this, but them alone is not enough. Ethereum doesn't have the luxury of being polite here. It needs to go on an offense, tell its story, define the frame, and make it impossible for others to write the narrative for us. And there's a link to the tweet. I love takes like this because they make something clear. Ethereum has to stop playing defense when it comes to policy and education. I'm going to open up this tweet. If I haven't already given it a like, I'm doing it now. All right. That's good. Oh, that was the person that posted the tweet that I was reading. So Trillions Dollar Tech was copy pasting. That's good, though, because not everybody's on Twitter. Let's just go ahead and repost this while I'm here. All right. Good stuff. This was what I took from it. I wrote I quoted that none of these stories were true, but the repetition shaped policy and delayed adoption. And I'm like, that needs to be the Ethereum bumper sticker. I listened to and Logri, I'm wondering if you listened to it also, or anyone else in the chat. There was a Bankless episode when he was interviewing a former chair of the comptroller of the currency. Okay, and you need to go find this episode. It's actually like Bankless getting back to their roots a bit, but they thought that they were going to have, they thought maybe they would be on an opposite side of this character. I can't remember his name. Turns out that dude is so more bullish on Ethereum and what it's capable of doing. But later in the conversation, you need to go listen to this podcast. It's the Bankless episode with the guy, the former chair, the comptroller of the currency. Towards the end of the episode, they were kind of winding down the discussion, and he was basically laying a warning out there that Ethereum can do all the things we want it to do, but the technology alone isn't going to work. You have to play the game. You have to play the political game. And it was just kind of like it was kind of hard to hear, but we know just based off this last election that crypto is a force of change if you put the money in the right places and have the right narrative and the message in Washington. David Hoffman responded, and he's like, well, if it really comes to anything, that's why you buy Bitcoin. And the dude freaking sat David down in his reply. You got to listen to it because it was such a slam dunk. Like, if you think Bitcoin is the answer to like getting out of this, you're totally disillusioned. Like, this this hippy dippy crypto stuff is like, that shit's done. The people in Washington now, like, it's like he said, this comptroller guy, he said it so well. He was like, it's going to be an evolution. You have to stay ahead of it. If you want all these decentralized and privacy emitting protocols and stuff like that are useful for individuals, then it has to be constantly watched and curated to stay on track, right? Because inevitably, with for all these FUD points and bear cases we were talking about, the bigger the hands, the harder they pull. So, oh my God, it was such a good. I wish I could find the timestamp and just play it for you right now, but you should go find it if you get a chance. Hats off to Bankless too. It was a really good episode. Thank you guys for interviewing him. I don't know if I could land a dude that big. God, he was so articulate. He articulated Ethereum in such a better way than most Ethereum natives because he's looking at it from the outside. He's looking at it from, like, he was going into the history of banking all the way, back way before.
Yeah,
it was good.
I mean, he was a thoroughly anti-bank guest. And so he had a slot on the Bankless podcast. And I agree with your message of we have to represent ourselves better. I think that's why, I'm so excited about Etherealize and the work that they're doing. Where first they put out that report for ETH is digital oil to try and say, like, here's the value of the ETH asset. And then they were pushing that to try to get companies to buy ETH. And then shortly after, like literally months later, we got treasury companies, which have now bought, I don't know, $10 billion plus of ETH, right? Mm-hmm. So that was, huge impact of like 3 or 4 people, right?
Yeah.
Then we have them put out this next one, which is talking about Ethereum's going to upgrade Wall Street. Not that we're like going to go around Wall Street, we're going to bypass Wall Street. It's a revolution, et cetera. Not that we're outside of it, but that we are going to be used to upgrade Wall Street. And they go through methodically and make a good case of it. Yeah. And I'm glad that we have them out there defending us. We really needed that 3 or 4 years prior. But I think Operation Choke Point really silenced a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was. We fell asleep for like 3 years, and it was. I mean, looking back, we were. What could you do though?
We fell asleep on anything to do with TradFi, right? We turned to airdrops and restaking and
NFTs,
meme coins, and other. Not even NFTs. NFTs are 2021. Yeah, it was kind of by the time Operation Choke Point was getting underway, NFTs are on the tail end. But for 3 years there, I think we were. We gave up on any hope of TradFi like integration. I didn't see much in the way of RWA growth then. I didn't see much in the way of institutional growth then. I didn't see anything from the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance for several years there. It just kind of became an internal meme coin casino with a lot of internal churn. And I made a bunch of money on airdrop season. I did well on farming stable coins during that time. Systems continued to churn along. But we lost a lot of the hope, I think, that originally attracted me to the ecosystem. I know you read a post from me before on that, but I feel we used to have grander sights, and I hope that we can learn to dream bigger again. Dream about having $4 trillion of stable coins on chain. Dream about how we're going to use those to make the world a better place, to make money and financial services accessible to a wider audience, to debank people and remove parasitic middlemen, remove banks entirely if we can. I hope that we can dream bigger again because the technology is ready for it.
Yeah,
we just need to get to retail.
Kind of.
And how do you do that? Well, I think the way that we do it at the moment is through, you can get someone like Fidelity that debanks people from the bank, right? They can, as an institution, come in and offer basic banking services, ATM services, checking services, etc., through blockchain rails, and potentially say, well, Wells Fargo, that sucks for you, right? People don't need to deposit to you anymore. We have a better savings account. It's called our money market. Any cash you have there goes into it by default. We give you a higher rate because the money that's in that money market now goes to Ethereum, to Aave or something, right? And gets that extra yield, right? So we can we DeFi mullet this, right? Because I've given up on reaching retail directly. So I think whether people know it or not, they're going to be using Ethereum. Their money's going to be parked on Ethereum. They might not have a wallet, they might not have a private key, but it's going to become the underpinning of a lot of the systems that people think they own a stock, right? How is that transfer? How is that? What records who owns what? We can upgrade all of that with Ethereum. Right now, it's just some private company.
I just got a notification on PayPal yesterday to opt into PiUSD. And if you hold PiUSD on PayPal, they'll give you 4%. I mean,
you bet. It's just a money market. So why take 0% on a checking account?
Exactly.
Why should you be forced to lend money at sub-market rates to a real estate billionaire in order to access, your money to pay for a coffee? There's a bundling of services in a bank right now that is very unfair to the consumer. And we were talking about renegotiating where that stablecoin yield goes, where the treasury yield goes. We can renegotiate that at a societal level, and we can really, in a serious way, either change how banks are structured, their relationships with their customers, or just remove banks entirely from the system, and go from lending, basically decouple the lending aspects and the credit facility aspects from the basic checking services. And banks do perform other services for large enough customers, but if you're just depositing your direct deposit there from your paycheck and then using it and living off of it, you're really they're preying on you, right? Like they're making money on you with overdraw penalties, and they're making money with you if you don't have a certain amount deposited there. They're taking a monthly fee for you, right? They're keeping all the interest on your money and paying you none of it. And the only reason you're taking that deal is because you're not aware of one that's better.
I'm wondering.
I'll make it better.
I'm wondering if banks. I'm just envisioning a future of like how they kind of survive in this arena. I wonder if banks are going to be able to offer FDIC insurance on a stablecoin vault thing, where they offer 3.5%, may not be 4%, but at least it's insured.
FDIC insurance is there in case the bank lends out money and then the loan goes bad and insolvent and the bank collapses, etc., that your money is insured by the government from lending risks, essentially, right? If your money is backed by a T-bill, then what do you need FDIC insurance for? It's backed by the Federal Reserve, right? They're going to pay out the dollars at the end of it, right? So there's FDIC insurance is kind of meaningless in that case. I know we harp on it, banks being safe because of FDIC insurance, but what is it insuring against?
Right.
It's insuring against risks that don't exist if you are essentially backed by a T-bill.
That makes sense. All right. Well, time has come, friends. We are down to our last doot of the week. User Hitman616, speaking of people that have 10 doots or more, Hitman616 is a duder number 10 for this week. Thinks that institutions are coming. It just won't be overnight. All right. Gensler's SEC was literally prosecuting ETH app creators until 8 months ago. Why would any U.S. institutions touch ETH with an SEC that aggressive? DATs also weren't even a thing until May 2025, like 3 to 4 months ago. And they've already bought 4% of ETH supply. That's 5 million ETH. The answer is, how long do we wait? Is, in my opinion, at least roughly 12 more months. By then, we'll likely have retirement funds open to buying BTC and ETH and clearer rules about how TradFi institutions can safely build on Ethereum without being worried about SEC prosecution. Saying that institutions will never stash ETH because they haven't done so yet is both A, wrong, and B, extremely short-sighted because the doors were literally just opened. Also, Kang's technical analysis depends on viewing ETH as a commodity exactly like oil, rather than a store of value that appreciates over time. The digital oil narrative is a nice meme, but oversimplified, and only captures the concept of ETH being burned or used up during transactions on Ethereum. It ignores that ETH is also programmable. It can be used as collateral, plus money, has a native yield, and its supply dynamics can be deflationary, or at least less inflationary than even Bitcoin. None of these other properties is true for oil. So assuming ETH will trade in a set range, for example, $1,000 to $4,000, makes no sense. The only thing I would really agree with is that competition from other L1s like Solana can sometimes be understated by ETH maxis. But again, we'll know more in 12 months how TradFi views Ethereum compared to its competitors. That is some bullishness from Hitman616, Duder number 10 for the week. That's it for the show today. On behalf of the R Ethereum Daily General Discussion and the EV Maverick Style, my name is JT. Cheers and big hugs from Kansas City.